Anytime you do a extensive amount of time, it can have two effects. It can harden you, or it can make you think. And I've thought.
And apparently he's done a lot of thinking about stopping the senseless gang-related violence plaguing the streets of Chicago.
This is Larry Hoover, the co-founder of the Gangster Disciples. The story of the Gangster Disciples begins on the streets of Chicago in the late 1980s. It was a time of major social change and racial tension. David Barksdale, the leader of the Black Disciples, and Larry Hoover, the leader of the Supreme Gangsters, decided to end their rivalry and merge their gangs. This alliance created the Gangster Disciples Nation. Their goal was to control territory and criminal enterprises across Chicago's South Side.
In Chicago last fall, a march to protest school problems surprised the political establishment by rallying thousands of young people in the city streets. Many of those marchers were gang members because the political organization that sponsored the rally, 21st Century Vote, has deep ties to a criminal street gang, the Gangster Disciple Nation. The Gangster Disciples, police say, is one of the country's most violent drug-dealing gangs, viciously controlling a third of the drug trade in Chicago.
You got it?
Other symbols included pitchforks pointed upward, the number 6, and graffiti featuring black, gray, and white, the gang colors. These served as a coded message for alliance and territorial control. When David Barksdale died in 1974 from kidney failure related to earlier injuries, Larry Hoover stepped into the leadership void. Larry Hoover rebranded the group as the Gangster Disciples and introduced the motto, growth and development. Though it sounded like a community uplift, in reality it was a blueprint for expanding criminal operations. Under Larry Hoover's leadership, the Gangster Disciples grew beyond Chicago. The organizational structure resembled a corporation. Larry Hoover acted as a chairman, with governors and regional leaders managing territories nationwide.
And his use of a decoding dictionary in his cell in 2017, seeming to support the belief that Hoover has continued to run gang rackets from jail, despite his promise that he's been reformed. According to the 2022 Illinois parole denial, Hoover's past continues to impact his present and will forever affect his future. Parole release at this time would not be in the interest of public safety. What all this means tonight is that Trump's commutation won't matter, and Hoover won't be released, according to this former longtime Illinois Parole Board member and chairman.
I think it's all symbolic, and I think it's all just drama. Because the president well knows that
25 for stealing drugs from Hoover's Gangster Disciples street gang. Hoover sentenced to 200 years, arrested more than a dozen times when he kidnapped and killed a drug dealer in this Englewood alley in 1973. William Pookie Young shot between the eyes, dead at age 25 for stealing drugs from Hoover's Gangster Disciples street gang. Hoover sentenced to 200 years in state prison. He would later be convicted.
This hierarchy allowed the gang to efficiently run drug trafficking and other illicit businesses.
It's like a cancer, it spreads. You got Gangster Disciples on every street corner.
Not since the days of Capone has a Chicago gang ruled with such bloodlust.
They only had one or two objectives: to sell drugs or hurt people.
They will assault you, beat you, shoot you, threaten your family, threaten your children.
The more fear, the more respect.
Oh, yes.
Torture, dismemberment, murder. It's strictly business for the GDs.
It's like that. It's real out here, man.
Their simple goal, more money and more power.
Their idea was you live fast, you die young, you have a good-looking corpse.
You see this heat? I got a million of these.
Running it one of the most disciplined and widespread gangs in American history. Not even Larry Hoover's imprisonment in 1973 for murder could end his influence. He continued directing the organization from behind bars, turning prisons into centers of recruitment, communication, and control. The gang expanded into more than 30 states, with tens of thousands of members, operating both on the streets and within prison walls.
Hoover co-founded the Chicago Gangster Disciples, and while behind bars for a 1973 murder, federal prosecutors say he continued to run the gang's prolific multi-state drug operations.
Alliance between the Black Disciples and the Gangster Disciples was fragile from the start. After Barksdale's death and Larry Hoover's imprisonment, ideological rifts deepened. Eventually, the group split into two distinct and warring factions: the Gangster Disciples loyal to Larry Hoover and the Black Disciples who followed their own leadership. This split sparked one of the most violent and long-running gang rivalries in American history. What began as an unfiltered front became a civil war fought block by block. The rivalry was fueled by gun violence on Chicago's South Side for generations, leaving communities in fear. In the 2010s, the rivalry entered a new stage through drill music, a raw hip-hop genre born in Chicago. Drill artists, often gang-active members, use music to describe violence, rivals, and claim territory. Lyrics and videos became provocative, sometimes filled in enemy territory.
In recent years, drill music has gained insane popularity amongst rap music lovers. There is an opinion because of this genre, criminal activity has increased. Chicago, at the dawn of drill music, was considered the most dangerous city in the United States, and earned its infamous nickname as Chirac. And then the British government removed over 100 music videos of drill artists, and New York City Hall is trying to ban the genre itself.
Social media amplified the conflict. Posts on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube turned insults into viral spectacles. Cyberbanging is a term meaning mocking rivals online, even those recently killed. Fueled cycles of retaliation. What was once confined to the streets now played out before millions worldwide. Behind the headlines, this conflict has left devastating scars on communities. Streets became invisible borders, and simply walking the wrong way can be fatal. Children grew up learning the geography of danger before they learned the periodic table. Families grieve lost sons, fathers, and brothers. The violence is not only measured in death, but also in trauma. Children exposed to shootings suffer from PTSD, poor sleep, and falling grades.
The ideology wasn't quite the same. When I talk about my father and I talk about Gangster Disciple, I don't really talk about Gangster Disciple too much. I'm kind of biased, but it's real. When Gangster Disciple started, even though it was positive aspects to it, it really was Gangster Disciple.
Communities become isolated, businesses close, and trust erodes. The true cost is seen in empty chairs at dinner tables and dreams cut short. The story of the Gangster Disciples is more than just a history of gang. It is a story of how power, identity, and violence intertwine with community life. Larry Hoover envisioned an empire that stretched far beyond street corners, and his influence continues decades later.
Didn't get 100 years in prison. They often only got a couple years, but the Illinois authorities knew who Larry Hoover was and the power he had, so he got over 100 years.
Street gangs is a fact. They've been a part of society, this society, since the early 1900s, and they're a fact that you can't get around them.
King David Barksdale died in 1974.
Yet behind symbols, mottos, and music are real human beings, sons, daughters, friends, and neighbors. Their lives remind us that this is not just about gangs. It is about communities caught in cycles of violence, resilience, and survival.
The federal case against the gang grew out of this raid in April. Federal agents raided 2 businesses linked to imprisoned gang leader Larry Hoover and his wife. In addition to finding $67,000 in cash, investigators got their first look at file cabinets full of records and documents. What they found helped lead to the indictments today of gang leader Larry Hoover and 38 of his